Hello, I'm the Progressive Disciple, and I'm taking a journey through the Bible. I'm inviting you to join me. Today, we are covering 1 Kings chapters 9 through 13. In chapter 9, the Lord appears to Solomon and promises that if he and his descendants keep the commandments and not worship other gods, that he will always have a descendant as king of Israel. But if he or his descendants abandon God, then Israel and the temple would be cut off from him. Solomon also pays Hiram, king of Tyre, with 20 towns from the Galilee, but Hiram calls them worthless. Solomon moves Pharaoh's daughter to his palace that he built for her, and he built a fleet of ships and started a trade expedition. Chapter 9 also talks about Solomon's workforce. In 1 Kings chapter 9, verses 20 through 22, it says, "There were still people left from the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, the people not Israelites. Solomon conscripted the descendants of all these people remaining in the land, whom the Israelites could not exterminate, to serve as slave labor, as it is to this day. But Solomon did not make slaves of any of the Israelites. They were his fighting men, his government officials, his officers, his captains, and his commanders of the chariots and charioteers." The injustice of these verses spoke to me. It's clear that Solomon and the author of Kings saw these people as being less than human. Not valuing marginalized people will lead to many problems. I take this as a reminder not to see people different from myself as inferior. It is also interesting that I came upon this right as Pride has been ending. I've been working hard these past couple of weeks on our booth at Pride Fest. I'm happy to say that this has been very successful. I think it's important for our church to be involved in Pride Fest just because the LGBT community is very marginalized in this country. I also see hope in these passages. God uses people where they are. You do not need to be perfect to serve God. In chapter 10, the Queen of Sheba comes visit Solomon. She brings wealth and a lot of questions, which Solomon is glad to answer for her. She is very impressed by his wisdom. Chapter 10 also goes into detail about the opulence of King Solomon. In 1 Kings chapter 10, verses 18 through 21, it says, "Then the king made a great throne, covered with ivory and overlaid with fine gold. The throne had 6 steps, and its back had a rounded top. On both sides of the seats were armrests, with a lion standing beside each of them. 12 lions stood on the 6 steps, one on either side of each step. Nothing like it had ever been made in other kingdoms. All King Solomon's goblets were gold, and all the household articles in the palace of the forest of Lebanon were pure gold. Nothing was made of silver, because silver was considered of little value in Solomon's day." This spoke to me because it showed how extreme wealth can blind people. I have seen snobbish behavior like this before. It does show how high Solomon has risen, but it also gives a hint at how his dynasty will fall. Rehoboam will have to face the consequences of such wealth in chapter 12. This is a reminder to me to be a good steward of the funds that I possess, to use my money not only for myself, but to help others as well. In chapter 11, Solomon took foreign wives that led him to worship other gods. This angered God, and he decided to take the kingdom away from him, but not all of it. God also raised adversaries that Solomon had to deal with in Edom and Aram. In 1 Kings chapter 11, verses 29 through 33, it says, "About that time, Jeroboam was going out of Jerusalem, and Ahijah, the prophet of Shiloh, met him on the way, wearing a new cloak. The two of them were alone out in the country, and Ahijah took hold of the new cloak he was wearing and tore it into 12 pieces. He then said to Jeroboam, 'Take 10 pieces for yourself, for this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. See, I am going to tear the kingdom out of Solomon's hands and give you 10 tribes. But for the sake of my servant David and the city of Jerusalem, which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, he will have 1 tribe. I will do this because they have forsaken me and worship Ashtoreth, the god of Sidonians, Chemosh, the god of the Moabites, and Molech, the god of the Ammonites, and have not walked in obedience to me, nor done what is right in my eyes, nor kept my decrees and laws as David, Solomon's father, did.' This spoke to me because Solomon was supposed to be wise, but chose to act foolishly. There are consequences to our actions, and Solomon's actions will have consequences for his son. This is a reminder to me to consider my own actions to make sure that they align with God's will. Solomon tries to kill Jeroboam, but he flees to Egypt. Chapter 11 ends with the death of Solomon. His son Rehoboam succeeds Solomon as king. In chapter 12, Israel asks Jeroboam if he would lighten the load that his father had put on them. In 1 Kings chapter 12, verses 13 through 14, it says, "The king answered the people harshly, rejecting the advice given by the elders. He followed the advice of the young men and said, 'My father made your yoke heavy. I will make it even heavier. My father scourged you with whips. I will scourge you with scorpions.'" This spoke to me because sometimes my pride gets me in trouble. I don't like a question because it means that the answer will lead me to change, a change that I don't want. So I become stubborn and give the wrong answer. This is a reminder to me to be honest with myself and be willing to accept my faults and be willing to change. The answer caused Israel to reject Rehoboam, who made Jeroboam their king. Only the tribes of Judah and Benjamin remained loyal to Rehoboam. Jeroboam was afraid that the people of Israel would revert back to David's house if they went to Jerusalem to sacrifice to the Lord. So he created 2 golden calves for the people in his kingdom to worship. In chapter 13, a prophet from Judah said that the altar at Bethel would be split apart and the ashes would spill out. Jeroboam ordered that the man be seized, but Jeroboam's hand shriveled up. The altar split apart and the ashes did spill out. Jeroboam asked that the man of God pray for healing, which he did, and his hand was healed. The man of God was told by God not to eat or drink in that land, and to take another path home. But another prophet lied to him and convinced him to disobey God. In 1 Kings chapter 13, verses 18 through 24, it says, "The old prophet answered, 'I too am a prophet as you are, And an angel said to me by word of the Lord, bring him back with you to your house, so that he may eat bread and drink water. But he was lying to him. But the man of God returned with him and ate and drank in the house. While they were sitting at the table, the word of the Lord came to the old prophet who had brought him back. He cried out to the man of God who had come from Judah, this is what the Lord says. You have defied the word of the Lord and have not kept the commandment the Lord God gave you. You came back and ate bread and drank water in a place where he told you not to eat or drink. Therefore your body will not be buried in the tomb of your ancestors. When the man of God tried to return to Judah, he was mauled by a lion and killed. He was buried by the old prophet in his tomb. This is another passage that makes me angry. The purpose of the passage seems to stress obedience to God. I see this as petty. Also, the old prophet had to take responsibility for leading this man of God astray. This is a reminder to me not only to follow God's way, but not to cause others to stray from God's path. Chapter 13 ends with Jeroboam not changing his ways and continuing to appoint priests to the high places to worship other gods. So this is my take of 1 Kings, chapters 9 through 13. Please like and subscribe to my videos. I would also like to hear your thoughts. What do you think of these chapters? Do you have any stories of people being marginalized? How do you handle your wealth? Do you consider God's will when making decisions? Have you made prideful decisions? What were the results? Have you been led astray or led anyone else astray? Please comment. I am the Progressive Disciple, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.